Welcome back to the Spoonie and Caregiver Live podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? Now, on today's episode, I'm going to be answering one of a question that somebody actually sent me, which, like I have said in previous episodes, if you guys want to send me your stories or send me questions, I'll be more than glad. In regards to answering those questions. So let's go ahead and answer this particular question. Now, the person that sent me this question decided to remain anonymous, which is totally fine. But the question is, how can you become your own superhero? And let's go ahead and talk about this because this is very important, especially when you're a caregiver or a spoonie. Or in my case, I'm both. Because unfortunately, PTSD never goes away. You just learn how to deal with it. Now, one of the things that I am going to say is that it is not easy. Nothing that I'm going to be talking about in the podcast is easy. So just be aware of that. Like, it might sound easy, but you have to step out of your comfort zone. And that's one of the things that I had to do. You have to step out of your comfort zone for one, and then you actually have to work on yourself. Like, in my situation, like I have mentioned before, the when my wife got sick, when she got diagnosed with all of these things that she has, depression, anxiety, and everything, obviously my life was turned upside down because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know how I was supposed to take care of my wife and still work because obviously she couldn't work anymore. So what I had to do in this situation is that I had to just keep working. And one of the things that I had to learn is that in order for me to become a hard worker, or in this case, a better husband or a better friend or anything like that, I had to work on myself. I had to understand what was triggering me, and that's why I decided to go to therapy. I had to understand why I was afraid of certain things, what was holding me back. But the most important thing about you becoming your own superhero is that just like on any superhero show or any superhero movie, you have to understand this, and this is one of the things that I never understood until recently, is that the superhero fights not just for himself but for others. And as you can see on this show, I'm wearing my Goku t-shirt, and the reason why I'm wearing it is because I'm watching the most recent season of Dragon Ball Super, and this particular season they have to fight to save the universe. And one of the episodes, Goku fights against a destroyer who turns out to be a god. And the god says, "Oh, you reach your limit." And Goku says, "No, I haven't reached my limit. You cannot tell me what my limits are." And as he's falling from the sky, because they were fighting in the sky, he starts to remembering his wife, he starts to remember his kids, he starts to remember all of his friends, and he gathers more energy and he fights back. And that's pretty much what you have to do. You have to have a why in order for you to become your own superhero. Like, my why is my wife. That's my biggest why. That's the reason why I like to read things about how to become a better listener, how to understand the illnesses that she has, and how to understand myself even more. That's one of the things. Like, the superhero, depending on who you look, it has to understand itself. They have to understand themselves. They have to understand that they're not fighting for fame. They're not doing it for anything else but for the greater good of somebody else. They fight for humanity. They fight for somebody. Like, in my case, the reason why I do all of this is for my wife. So she understands that if I can do it, she can do it as well, because especially with depression and anxiety, that's going to be the hardest part, which is something that I suffered from, and that's why I do all of this. I like to keep pushing myself harder. I keep stepping out of my comfort zone so she can see it as well, and she can be like, if he can do it, I can do it. And the same thing for you guys. If you ever feel like that you can do it because I can do it, That's pretty much the reason why I did this podcast, or why I do all this podcast. But you have to have a reason. You don't do it for yourself. There's a book called The Hero of a Thousand Faces. I think that's what it's called, if I remember correctly. and all of these heroes from the past, and you can look at history. You don't have to look at like superheroes or anything like that, but any type of hero, like in this situation, I'm from Mexico, right? Or national heroes, they sacrifice themselves for the good of the country. You know, we have what they call the heroic kids, or los niños héroes, and what they did is that they sacrificed themselves when they were pinned down. They literally sacrificed themselves when I think it was against France. France was gonna take over their military school in battle, and what they did is that they went upstairs, they went to the roof of the building, and all of them sacrificed themselves one way or another. I really don't remember the whole story, but one that sticks out is one of them grabbed the Mexican flag, wrap it around himself, and then jump from the top of the building because he didn't want the flag to be captured. He literally sacrificed himself to save the flag. And I see that a lot of people will do that here in the States for their flag, which is great. But also, when you want to become your own superhero, you have to do it for yourself. You have to do it for your spoonie, because when you do that, you're gonna become a better caregiver because you feel like rewarded for taking care of your spoonie. That's how I feel. That's why I like, my wife says like, "Oh, you're my Hulk," and I'm like, yes, I am, because like when she had her surgery, her second surgery and her first surgery, or any other surgery that she has had, I stay up all night just to watch her. And I'm not bragging, I'm not complaining, I'm just letting you know, like, I stay up all night watching for days just to make sure that she's okay. And one of the things that this makes me feel, it makes me feel good because I know that I'm taking care of her. Like, I put my I guess you can say, like, I put I put her first in this situation. Like, I don't care at that point, like, if I'm tired or if I'm exhausted, if my body can't move anymore, I just keep going. And that's pretty much what will make you a good superhero. And when I do that, what that does is that it shows me that I haven't reached or that I have reached a new limit which I can break, just like Goku. That's why I'm wearing his t-shirt, you know? Like, this is why you have to become your own superhero, because you keep pushing and pushing, and you keep finding more energy, you keep finding more strength, you keep finding all these things that you didn't know you have. That's why you have to do it for somebody else, because if you do it for you, let's be honest, or in my case, let me be honest, when I was doing it just for me, I was lazy. I was like, what's the point? You know, like, nobody gets benefit from that. Nobody gets any benefit from this. Like, I was lazy. I was always putting excuses. I was always being like, I'll give like 80%. But now, because I have to take care of my wife, I have to make sure that she's okay, I have to give 120%. So that's how you can become your own superhero. This is how you can become better, by putting everything on the line for your spoonie or for whoever you have to take care of. And sometimes you can do it for yourself. Sometimes you can do it on your own. I mean, for me it was hard because of the way that I was raised, but I've seen people that have done it without having another person to do it for, you know? Like, they just do it for themselves. I couldn't do it for myself until I met my wife. So I had to do it for her. And once I started doing it for her, you know, I was like, you know what? I can do this for myself as well. And that has helped me a lot. But like I also mentioned, you have to step out of your comfort zone, because when you're a caregiver, like in my case, I had to step out of my comfort zone because I had to learn new things. I never thought I could learn something new, but I'm learning new things about medicine and all these new treatments and everything, and that's why some of her doctors don't like me, because I have sometimes more information than them. And obviously, when you go to school like and pay all this money, you feel like you know everything. And if somebody that didn't even go to college in this situation literally has more information than you, you're gonna feel kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm dumb, like, and you don't wanna reflect that, which is bad for the doctor but good for yourself in this situation, because the doctor is not gonna hear you. So you have to step out of your comfort zone so you can talk to the doctors and literally fight for your spoonie. Because that's one of the things that happened between me and my wife. Like, when all of this started, I didn't even know what to say. It was just like, okay, I will, I didn't know what to say. But once I started stepping out of my comfort zone and challenging the doctors, because my wife wasn't getting better for the longest time, so I was getting desperate, I was getting mad at them, and I was like, you know what, I need to start asking questions. Once I started asking questions and started to step out of my comfort zone, they didn't like it. It didn't really matter to me or anything like that, because all I cared about is for my wife to get better. So that's how I have become her superhero, literally. That's what she says, not me. That's what she says. You can ask her. And like I said, you have to make it about a why. It can be a person, it can be a situation, or it can be like something that gives you that feeling that if you do it, you're gonna feel good about it. Like me taking care of my wife, I feel good about it. I feel rewarded, even though there's no pay or anything like that. I just feel good, and that's one of the things. Because in my situation, by taking care of her, I have done so much about myself. Like, I had found myself. I had to literally break out of my shell to be able to become the caregiver that I am right now. If I was still the same person that I was like 3 years ago when all of this started, almost 4 years ago when all of this started, then I don't think I would have been able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do everything that I've been able to do for my wife. Probably the stress will kill me, or I would just quit. Because I used to quit a lot, like I have said in previous episodes. I used to quit a lot, and another thing that is going to help you, and this has helped me, and it's pretty much one of the things that I have mentioned already, is like, you have to be teachable. If you want to become your own superhero, you have to be teachable. When you become teachable, you can learn new things. When you learn new things, you feel good about yourself. When you feel good about yourself, you open up. Even to yourself, you can start talking to yourself and finding new things. Like I have done this episode about how old memories can hold you back. That's pretty much what happened. Like, I started talking about to myself, to my wife, and then I found how old memories were holding me back. So that's how you can be teachable. Even with yourself, you can teach yourself new things. And another thing is, like, don't worry about failing, because you will always learn something new. Even if you fail, even if let's say, like, you do research for your spoonie so you can tell the doctor something and the doctor shuts it down, don't feel bad about it. Find a better doctor sometimes. If it works for you, you can find a better doctor. But in this case, if you know and you have done the research and the doctor rejects it because they don't have the time sometimes, they only have like 10 minutes to see you, 5 minutes sometimes, and they don't want to read your or listen to you, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You just have to keep researching more and come back to the doctor with more research and be like, hey, you work for me. That's how you're gonna stand up for your spoonie. Hey, you work for me. I'm her superhero. I'm here for her. I'm her bodyguard. I'm gonna take care of her, and I'm gonna make sure that you take care of her. Like, that's pretty much what you will have to do. You will learn something new as long as you're teachable and as long as you step out of your comfort zone. And obviously you have to learn more about yourself than nobody else. And obviously you have to learn more about your spoonie as well. But that's exactly how I was able to become my own superhero and my wife's hero, because, to be honest, like I said, this is a hard job to be a caregiver, especially when you're a spoonie yourself. Obviously, like for me, I have PTSD. I have all these things, mental health issues, where there are triggers. But because I want to become a better husband and a better caregiver for my wife, I had to understand what those triggers were. And that's one of the things that you're gonna have to do. So I hope that answers your question, to whoever sent it to me, because they sent it anonymously. It didn't put their name, but I hope that answers your question. And thank you for your time. Thank you for sending me the questions. Thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. The more shares we have, the more we grow. And if you know somebody that can actually benefit from this podcast, don't forget to share it. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And as well, thank you for all your time, and I'll leave you, like as always take care of yourself and have a great day.